Hey guys, welcome to On the Beat weekly podcast. On the Beat is all about giving young people a voice. We explore all the interesting topics that affect us in the world today. So come, listen, enjoy, and be inspired.
On the beat, on the beat.
Hello everyone, this is Brent Balfour in On the Beat podcast. We welcome you today and we hope you are fine. Last week we talked about youth and music, right? We had our brethren Jeremy being part of the podcast and we talk about it. And now today we have Carlos in the house and we are going to talk about young people in South America and Central America, what they are going through. So Carlos, what's up, bro?
Yo, what's the scene, my brother, from all the way from Grande?
Long time I didn't see you, boss.
It's a privilege to be on the podcast. I know we have been trying to do this for some time, but I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to partner with you today. And we could discuss a little bit, and I know it will be vibrant, it will be full of energy, and look forward to it. My name is Carlos Andujar for people out there. I'm from South specifically, and
let me tell you something, Carlos. People in abroad ain't gonna know what is South and what is Grande now. So you have to be a little more. Wait, which part you from, boy?
If anybody know where the famous C3 is, well, you know where I live in. Once you know where the famous C3 is, you know where I live in. Because, C3 has built a reputation to take away a lot of the economic, financial potential in their area. And South has been known for, they have come alive since C3 has been placed there. I'm close there, so that's what I'm about. I'm just like C3. I'm about energy, I'm about vibes,
in other words, all right, so you showing off, right? This is just extreme showing off, right? So you're trying to say people who abroad, when they come to Trinidad, they have to go and visit South first up, right? That what you're trying to say. You're trying to promote the South of Trinidad, are you?
Of course.
How much they are paying you for this, Carlos? How much?
I can't reveal that is classified, but I can tell you for a fact that South is more part of the city, a famous city in Trinidad and Tobago, and you would definitely love it, particularly Current Hills, particularly C3 area. You would be amazed by it. So yeah, definitely.
So what's your birthplace?
Oh, good question, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I am not Trinidadian by birth. I am Puerto Rican by birth, but I've lived the majority of my life in Trinidad and Tobago. So it's a privilege to be a Trinbagonian.
Is it true that your mom is from Venezuela area? Is it true?
To be corrected, my mom is she is the only person in my biological family that is from Trinidad. That is from Trinidad and Tobago.
But you have Venezuelan connections, do you?
I do. I have a sister from Venezuela, a sister from Puerto Rico, and my biological dad is from Dominican Republic.
Oh my goodness, you are the world all in one.
I am what you call one of Trinidad and Tobago's favorite dish, kalaloo.
Yes. So Carlos, we want to talk about what have been going through the lives of young people in South America and Central America, right? You have seen or heard through the news many things that have been happening over the years, like from Venezuela. Venezuela was actually one of the richest countries in the world, right?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, after the presidential change from Chavez, it just took a nosedive, right?
Yes, wow.
And they are a country that have a lot of oil reserves and they are unable to use that rich that wealth that they have, right?
Yeah.
And now toilet paper have become more expensive than oil.
Yeah.
The economy has caused a ripple effect in what the lives of the Venezuelans are doing right now. And it's a ripple effect like into violence, into kidnapping, into prostitution, into leaving the country and fleeing. And this is not just Venezuela, but it have been happening throughout South America.
Yeah.
So
that is right.
What would be the thinking of a young person who have to go through this trauma?
That's a great question, Brent. Being a Puerto Rican, or if you're born in Puerto Rico, you automatically have American citizenship because the U.S. Embassy is situated in Puerto Rico.
Right.
And so I have built-ins there, so I have the privilege of an American to, if the borders was open, I could easily be accessible to the American state. And having a Spanish background, because it's in my blood and in my family and whatnot, obviously I would have been keeping abreast of things. And then I have family in some of those countries, and I would have seen and felt the difficulties that they have been facing. And if I was not in Trinidad and Tobago right now and I was in Puerto Rico recently, Puerto Rico had experienced a bad hurricane a couple of years ago, and my biological dad was in Puerto Rico at that time, and at that point in time we had no connection for him for a while. Some people in other countries was facing it because the electricity completely wiped out, and we had no contact with him, and Puerto Rico was already in a kind of poverty state, so it became worse.
Wow.
And after about a couple of months, after about 2 or 3 months, then we were able to get in contact and know that dad is safe and so on. That was obviously a major concern. But I've recognized that poverty doesn't just happen. The issues doesn't just happen in the country just like that. You mentioned Venezuela. Venezuela was a rich country, especially in the time when my sister was born, and my mom used to be there a lot traveling. And things have drastically changed because of power, because of politics, because of social issues, and obviously would lead to the crime, the violence, conflicts, insecurities, and this would have an uproar for human rights. And these things most of the time stems from those who are in power. And Venezuela is a great example of that. Big example, causing people wanted to flee, wanted to come across by us. I'm pretty sure you have some Venezuelans in your neighborhood. I have in my neighborhood already. Corruption, the main word has been corruption. Corruption is just spinning on my mind right now, and it just has led to the money being misused, unemployment, the economic growth has just dived down just like everything else, and caused your country to become in that state.
Because the same thing, I agree with you, Carlos, and sometimes we are who in privileged countries are being naive of the situation or of what we have. We tend to think if somebody is in poverty, it's their fault. But not necessarily so. It could be also stem, according to what you just said, from the governance of the country. Power greed, right? And these things have a ripple effect, and people fail to realize that there are lives at stake, and a lot could die by one decision. One decision could change many families.
I've learned that everything it will build or drop on leadership. I've learned that, and it's true. It goes to the highest point of leading a country, which is not an easy thing. It's a big leadership, and if you are not leading for the people, if you are not leading for the country, and it becomes in a selfless place where you and the party that you're representing should be fixed. They and their family. You know, the narratives that goes along with the greed of a politician and of the prime minister or the leader. And bit by bit, you tend to see this coming out, or this in the news, and these things, these pockets of information being revealed in the light, because you know, you could go so far to hide up in the dirt, but you know, it's just like when you go on the beach and when you go on the sea. When the water comes on the shore, all the shells and the roaches, the sea roaches, it comes up. You know, it comes up and it comes through, and it only lasts for a time. So, you know, it really stems on the leadership of the country, and that is also alerting for us as a nation in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, because if we place ourselves into the shoes of young people in society in those areas like Honduras and so on, even Brazil have a hard time as well with the economy. And lately, last month, people from Honduras was trying to escape, either Honduras or Guatemala. They were trying to escape, and because of the economy, and they were trying to enter into Mexico but being denied entry into Mexico, and they had to camp out on the highways and so on, right? And the fact is, if we put ourselves in young people's shoes, firstly, you would hear you growing up and they always say, hey, get a good education. And you studying your butt off, and all of a sudden, chaos started happening in your country, and your family decide to leave the country. But you can't leave the country via driving. You have to leave the country via walking for hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
Just like that. What would be your mindset? What do you think would be happening to them right now?
Wow. You know, I can't even begin to think of imagining, because earlier I mentioned, you know, if I still was in Puerto Rico, I could imagine the place where I would have been, the lack of opportunities, the being in another third world country, not having accessibility to certain things as people, and I may see on the news. Yeah, I may have access to the news as every country would be, and I would see this and I would see that, and I would have just been in a place or put myself in their shoes like, wow, I wish I had that opportunity as well. I wish, you know, I'm into the financial industry currently, and one of the opportunities I have to help families and loved ones is they are putting something in place for their child, meaning a savings investment or critical illness protection. And you know, I never had that put in place, or even a savings per se, for myself. Not to say anything of my immediate around me, but probably didn't have opportunity, or probably the situation that they came from. But what if, and seeing myself being in place in that platform and that position to help someone, that listen, you can start with something, and by the time they are reaching maturity age or adult, they have a start in life. And when I look at it at that perspective of what I've gained, you know, I thank God. I thank God that now I have, it's a different perspective and a different platform, but now I have the opportunity that I was actually saved from.
But thinking about the youth who have lost their homes, who have lost their mom, dad, who just have a backpack on their back and walking the streets, looking for food, looking for shelter. It's a really hard experience to go through. I've viewed personally people in, for example, Africa and other people on the streets, and I've seen how they, like emergency camps, where
Yeah.
they sleep on the streets. They have nothing to eat. Where they sleep is where that's their home. That's the size of their home. Basically, is the size of your body.
Yeah.
And to this thing that you will live in one life one day, because we're talking about teachers, lawyers, people who are educated, who just have
Yeah.
to drop from middle class to poverty immediately overnight, having to turn into survival mode is a very
Wow.
traumatic experience.
It is.
And not knowing where the next help coming from, not knowing where the next dollar coming from, not knowing where the next food coming from. And they are striving to reach the US, and the US is not a easy place to go to gain a lifestyle, because firstly you'll have to cross the border, and secondly you'll have to become legit, legal
Yeah.
to stay in, and it's not an easy road to
No.
do such thing. And it just pains us to think about these things, and how can it has so many organizations out there who is trying to help this situation, but it's not
Yeah.
enough. It's still not
Yeah.
enough. And governments, various countries I should say, have been thinking about themselves, their own citizens, their own
Yeah.
people. But think about the refugees that don't have that
Yeah.
shelter, and it have nobody to turn to. Imagine if you were in that situation.
Yeah.
You understand? So
Yeah.
how can it, would it ever change?
That is a really great question. When I think of what you were speaking about it, I think you may be attached to this quickly. Alfonso Davis, who is from Bayern Munich, the left back.
Yeah.
He was a
From
refugee.
Canada. Yeah.
From Canada. He was
Yeah.
a refugee. His family, they had to flee of where they were situated before, and because of the poverty, of the violence and whatnot, they were literally running for their life, and he ended up, just as you mentioned, as a refugee camp, which not all the times, but in instances it helps people, and he was one of the stats that got an opportunity to play football. He was so
Yeah.
skinny. He was looking at just as those little kids who you see is anorexic, and they're going through sufferation, and he got an opportunity that he loved and he was passionate about. He ran with it, and it reached him far by the grace of God. That is an amazing story. If you haven't read up about it, I'm pretty sure you did. But last year they win in the Champions League. It was one of his big goals in life, and to see him come from that background and reach there with the opportunity at such a young age, it is so much an encouraging story. Now he's a speaker and a leader for the UN at such a young age.
Wow.
And I think I draw that perspective to say this: our leaders and our governments and our institutions, we need to see the youth as agents of change. Because if we stand on a platform and we say that the youths are the leaders of tomorrow, how can we just say that and not follow up? How can we not put opportunities in place just as that? What about a camp? What about a training?
Yeah.
Look, I just want to read out a few stats here for some major challenges that some young people face in South America, right?
Yeah.
The struggle for proper education, to work and obtain a proper job and income, right? Increasing obstacles to their emancipation. So if there's not opportunities being provided, how are they going to become free of it, right? It must, something got to give. Someone has to step out with the finances that they have, the platform that they have, give others opportunity. For example, yours, as yours has now been on the airways and the byways, coming up as new. every episode I hear about or I see is giving somebody an opportunity. It's a simple start like that. It could be
Yeah.
a non-charitable foundation or something. Just give an opportunity for a voice to be heard, a talent to be seen,
Mhm.
for some words to go there. What do you do? It could reach them somewhere and open a door. It's estimated that over 1 in every 5 young people in the region are not in education, employment, or training. South America has 422.5 million in population.
Wow, and
So
it's one in every five.
is
So
one in every
therefore,
5.
it could be 20% of that.
Correct.
20% of that.
That is extremely low and bad. So we see where everything is stemming from, and it's happening. So I think that is one of the. I do believe that is the major. I only use that example because I do believe there are other aspects to bring in, but I do believe that is the major issue and problem. We are not seeing our young people as the agents of change, because when a revival, when something great starts, or when a new invention comes by, or something new hits on the block, it usually starts with a young person.
Yeah.
But we need to give them the opportunity, just as this podcast is doing.
Yeah, because we tend to hold on. Well, older people tend to hold on the traditions, the laws that are set, and the system of the country, the set country that are set as well. They tend to forget that young people are the leaders of tomorrow, and if we don't think about them instead of thinking of ourselves today, then yes, true, eventually the world will come crashing down. It will. And It pains me to see we tend to blame young people for not trying or giving up, right? But we also have to blame those who are in authority for not trying and giving up too soon on the young people as well, right? It goes hand in hand.
Agreed.
And just like I said, making available programs, available training, or giving shelter, or giving food, simple things like that, giving them a chance to live.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a chance to live. Everybody wants a breath of fresh air somewhere, right? And if we don't get to breathe, come on.
Agreed. When you mentioned that, I think of a tree. A tree. There are so many trees. When a tree bears a fruit, it doesn't eat its own fruit. It leaves it for someone to take it.
Yeah.
So become a tree.
Exactly. And I pray that young people out there won't not give up. And I hope that even though it's a long journey ahead, even though it's one step by one step in their journey, I hope that, because suicides could increase, prostitution could increase, violence could increase, drug addictions could increase, and it could keep going on and on and on. Because right now their eyesights are being blinded by the whole situation, and it's all about survival mode. And I hope that there are organizations out there, and even those who are willing to help, go ahead and help. Even to Carlos, we could organize maybe a mission trip, maybe next year when the borders open, right? A mission trip to go out and help young people, motivate young people, build training centers or something. We could help one way or another as well, and find investors to come in. We could do something.
So you mentioned that mission trip, and I know it has been in some time planning, and I pray to God that hopefully we do get that opportunity to impact some of these worldwide issues, and use what God has given us to cause change and make something happen.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, Carlos, it was nice for you to be part of our podcast, right? You as a young person, a young leader, right, in society, doing well in society. Carlos, don't be a stranger of On The Beat. Don't stay in the south city of C3, right? Right?
For sure.
But yeah, it was nice to hear your input, your advice, and your insights of what you think is happening out there and how we can all impact. So, guys, this is it. This is the end of the podcast, and you shall hear from us next week around this time. Ciao.
Thank you for listening to On The Beat podcast. Feel free to share, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay blessed, everyone.